All right. It is exactly um, it is exactly 6 o'clock here on KNR. It's radio according to you. And today, of course, it is radio according to Buffalo City Metropolitan Municipality. Dinamkele ke baphulaphuli kwindawo ngendawo enihleleni siphulaphuleni kuzo. Sifikela lokhu kwinkqubo nje eyodwa here on KNR. Kwimdantsane FM nakuyo ke ikumkani FM. Siyazi kaloku ukuthi a new term of local government has kicked in and ne-councillor induction councillor nabo ba-inductiwe. Now it is time ukuthi ku-electwe i-ward committees kumasipala nje bonke apha kwiphondo lempuma koloni kodwa our focus today is here in Buffalo City Metropolitan Municipality. Sinaye ke apha studio the council speaker uCouncillor Humphrey Maxegwana ukusicacisela again to explain broadly about the ward committee elections. Sitshilo ke sathi siyabamkela abo basibukeleyo kumakhasi ethu kaFacebook kwiBuffalo City Metro as well as KNR and KNTT YouTube channel. Samkela ngokukodwa abaphulaphula abasiphulaphule kwimdantsane FM nakwikumkani FM. Speaker masikwamkele enkqubeni.
Nkosi Mhlekazi.
All right.
Mandibulise kubaphulaphuli bemdantsane FM kwakunye nekumkani FM. Ndibulise wonke umuntu okhoya apha eBuffalo City obukeleyo nomameleyo kule nkqubo yethu yanamhlanje.
Alright, siyabulela kakhulu speaker ngokusamkela. Sawufuna nje ke ukhe usithele gqabagqaba abanye abantu maybe they are aware ngomcimbi we-ward committees. Mhlawumbe abanye bazibona sezikho ziqhuba bengayazi ukuthungelana phakathi kwe-council entsha okanye i-council term entsha. Ungasichazela nje ukuthi zintoni i-ward committees?
Mangiqale ngelithi Mhlekazi, abantu baseBuffalo City baqala nathi i-term entsha kusukela ngoNovember kunyaka ophelileyo. Sesihleli ke i-council yesterday the 26th of January to kickstart the 2022 program. Now we are on the path of establishing ward committees. But in ukuthi ke qala i-ward committee intoni? Ward committee ke structures as established in terms of section 72 to 78 of the Municipal Structures Act for the main purpose of broadening participation in the democratic process of council, so that wonke umuntu akwazi uthatha inxaxheba kwinkqubo yebhunga apha khoyo. Ukongeza ke kule purpose ye-ward committees is to assist ncedise i-ward councillor ekhoyo in each ward ekuququzeleleni, organizing, ekuconsulteni nokusasaza information and encourage abantu baseBuffalo City in those particular wards bathatha inxaxheba kumcimbi ward. And bandi ngaphandle ke ndithi i-ward committees are not politically aligned. Azinanto kwenza nezopolitika, kunceda nje abantu ward.
All right. We're chatting to the council speaker of Buffalo City Metropolitan Municipality, Councillor Humphrey Maxegwana. We're talking about the processes that are followed when electing ward committees. We already have some viewers Of course, they are requesting the council speaker at least to mix English and isiXhosa to accommodate our diverse listeners and viewers. Umbo phambili ke singawo namhlanje kukonyulwa kwe-ward committees. Sasivile ke sichazele into yokubana kutheni zintoni i-ward committees egxininisa ukuthi ke they are not politically aligned. And that brings me to the second question, Speaker, that of the criteria that is used to elect these members, the ward committees. Kulandelwa miphi mhlawumbi imiqathango xa zisonyulwa?
Ugqitha kule nto ithi they are not politically aligned. It's because in a ward we accept and we allow and invite everybody okhoyo ewadini ongumhlali to nominate, because that's the criteria, to nominate a registered voter in that particular ward. Ogama lakhe livelayo kwi-voters roll. That candidate must be elected by his or her interest group. Goba ward committees will serve in the committee zisuka from amahlelo ngamahlelo apha ewadini. Zakelo ulutsha funeka likhona phaya and linyulwa by the youth that is between 18 and 35. Abantu challenged physically nabo will be nominated by those groups zabantu who are physically challenged. Akho mntu ungutata, there is no male person who must nominate a female for a woman portfolio. A women portfolio must be nominated by women. As I said, elected by the community residing within the voting district. I think that must be emphasized. Umntu must not owe makangatyali umasipalati for a period that is not longer than 3 months ngokwe rates zakamasipala, unless that candidate can prove that an arrangement is made for the settlement of that account. Not the person must not, who is elected, must not be a full-time or part-time employee of the municipality or the public service.
Okay.
Funeka ube ngabantu abangenanto inomvuzo osuka kurhulumente. Singazibala ke izinto, umuntu surely okwi-CDW, okwi-EPWP abantu bayazi loo nto, nomuntu ohlawulwayo ngurhulumente within that ward committee. Ukudlula apho, not a person of unsound mind. Ngokuqinisekileyo umuntu ongamanga kakuhle engqondweni akakwazi ukurepresenta abantu, but also umuntu omakaqeshwe ngumuntu who's able to read and write, not necessarily aqeshwe. Umuntu omakonyulwe ku-ward committee must be a person who is able to read and write for purposes for sure zokuba akwazi ukudevelopa i-reports, akwazi ukusubmita i-reports. At least umuntu okwazi ukufunda nokubhala can do all those things. But also that person, that candidate, will also, when he or she is a ward committee member, will also be able to train and conduct workshops. The person, again, who has been released from prison ngeparole, akazukwazi ukuseva in the ward committee unless i-period yakhe ye-parole uyiseva wayiqhiba. So those are the things that are very critical for abantu ukuze understand for uba eligible to be part of the ward committee. But beyond that, sizawuyenza awareness beyond this point, awareness yabantu ebantwini sorry. So awareness ebantwini as to how they will elect the people who will serve in the committee.
All right, Ndikveke, Speaker, uthetha about interest groups. Can you then tell us about the composition? Kutokoqala mangaphi lamalungu ward committee and izeziphi interest groups that they represent?
Umthetho, the legislation and the national guidelines, zithi i-ward committee must have abantu who are made up to not more. I repeat, abantu abaseva in that committee bingaphezulu kweshumi. That's the guidelines silandela yona ke. But also, ward councillors must identify geographical areas within their wards. 5 persons in the ward will each represent geographical area. So in other words, 5 persons will be elected to represent a diversity of interest within the ward. For instance, health and HIV/AIDS, those are the interest, elderly, abantu abadala, amahlelo enkonzo, religion, amahlelo osomashishini, business, agriculture, and agriculture is mostly found in rural areas. Those wards that are in rural areas will then have to be represented. I've mentioned the youth only, but there is women and children. There is disability, as I said, physically challenged. There are wards where we have traditional leaders, and that's a critical component in the rural areas because our traditional leaders are part and parcel of the life of umsebenzi kwi-wards zethu. So we give them that respect, as we do respect them, that they must be considered. Women in that committee, because I think this is what must be emphasized.
Yes.
Women must be equitable, balingane representation yabo in the ward. Although I think this must be our endeavor to up the women folk in the ward to be more than 1/3. And I think that's what we'll have to strive for. But it says at least 1/3 of members should be women. We must strive for more of that. So it will be dependent upon those the strength of the women in the areas where there will be these public meetings to elect ward committees.
All right. Thank you very much. Speaker, we're chatting to the Council Speaker of Papua City Metropolitan Municipality, Councillor Humphrey Maxegwana, on the processes that are being followed when electing ward committees. Ngemvume yakho, Speaker, I just want to read through the statement Papua City around the issue of water. Kuba ndiyabona abantu abaninzi abangenayo apha, they are complaining about the quality of water, and Papua City Metro has released a statement to media from the office of the executive mayor about amanzi apha ePapua City. Kuthiwa ke fellow residents of Buffalo City Metro, receive our kind greetings. We are speaking to you today to update you regarding the challenge of water quality and reliability impacting certain areas of our city. On the 8th of January 2022, our city experienced worst storms and flooding incidents it has experienced in its history, with the situation now officially declared a disaster. The devastation that was suffered by many of our communities is too huge. We now know that the storm caused death and devastation mainly in Mdantsane and Duncan Village, but we can confirm that all parts of our city were negatively impacted by the storm. The infrastructure of our city was also hardest hit, more particularly roads, electrical infrastructure, and buildings. The floods also negatively impacted on our water infrastructure and the quality of water that residents of certain areas of our metro complained about is one of the indicators of the magnitude of the floods. We want to assure the residents of the metro that we are working over the clock to ensure that the situation is improved. The raw water from Bridle Drift Dam to Umzonyana water treatment works was negatively impacted by the flash floods, which negatively affected the extent the plant is able to treat and release water into the distribution system. Because the system is taking longer to fully recover due to high water demand, the city has had to consider the situation holistically. We are implementing a number of mitigation plans to recover the Umzonyana water supply system. And amongst these are the following. We are providing water tankers to assist the affected areas. We have brought on board an external expert to advise on solutions in order to destabilize the system. And then we will cut water supply between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. every evening to build up the storage for high-lying areas. And this will be implemented until the system is sufficiently, or rather the system sufficiently recovers. This will not impact all areas of the metro. We want to apologize to all residents of our metro for this situation, as the political leadership of the institution will be monitoring the water challenge daily, and we will give regular updates to the residents of the affected areas up until the water distribution system is to the requisite standard. Kuchoke office of the executive mayor, the statement so that went out to the media today. Going forward, it is now exactly 18 minutes after 6, and I understand that around 20 past we'll push it to half past because of this message. Sithetha naye Somlomo kwibhunga leBuffalo City Metropolitan Municipality. Umphambili ekuthethwa ngawo ke namhlanje ngulowo wokonyulwa kwe-ward committees. Sivile ke about the composition of these committees. Ubuso ugabadele ke Somlomo nakwi-functions zazo. So I just want to check, do ward committee members get i-remuneration? Bayabhatalwa na? Kuba ndivile ukuthi abavumelekanga abaphansi kwengqesho karhulumente nokuba sisigxina okanye okwethutyana. Ingaba bayahlawulwa bona aba bantu bakwi-ward committees?
Mandigqithe nje kule nto ithi these ward committees, in relation to what you were announcing from Buffalo City, we took that decision to inform the public about the water problems. And these ward committees, part of their work is to communicate such matters of the city to the communities of the ward. No, they don't get a remuneration, they get stipend. Stipend, abasifumanayo, is meant to cover transport, is meant to cover the airtime because they must call from time to time, the data. They must also eat. That's what is covered, catering. That's what is covered because sometimes people must eat so that they are able to work. The BCM council meeting, well, like yesterday, we agreed that the program of ward communities must roll from now on as we started today, so that we by end of March we are done with the program. So that's what I can explain in terms of the stipend, but also what is the time frame for us to completely establish IWAT committees.
Okay, all right. We are left with one question to ask to the Honorable Speaker, but I just want to assure those that are still asking about whether that, as you know, that we are also live on the page of Buffalo City Metropolitan, so the officials will be looking at these comments, and of course, more details will be released. Busidiko, Utibakazi, no Hamza Picholo, they are asking about other service delivery related issues, and I know these, as they are written here, they will be attended to by the officials and of course the communications department of Buffalo City Metro. Rounding or wrapping up now on the issue at hand, the ward committee elections. Communities, that is the community members, how can they participate in the election process?
Obviously, they will be part of the community meetings, and the nominations will take place in community halls or in villages, and people will elect, or abantu bazakonyulwa by show of hands, and in cases where it's needed, through the ballot, the formal ballot. So that's how they will be elected. Or the similar type of sectoral structures, for example, women groups, farmers organizations, will come together. And earlier I mentioned the physically challenged, will come together to nominate their representatives. So that xa kufikwa entlanganisweni, ezo groups zibekani zona sezihlangene, and they nominate and elect the sectoral groups like your physically challenged, meaning people with disabilities and all of that. The youth will do the same, so that when they go, all is done. Existing structures in the ward surely will send nominations to the meeting, and the names will be confirmed by residents in that particular hall, community meeting of the ward, and so that they constitute and be elected to the ward committee. So there will be this kind of representation generally from the sectoral groups to make things easier when they go to the general meeting. At least they are very clear. The geographical areas surely will be constituting the ward. They are requested to send their nominated representatives to send, as I explained, to serve as members of the ward. So there will be some work before the actual sitting of the public meeting to nominate, like any arrangement where people would be elected. So abantu sibakhuthaza ukusukela ngoku ezo sectoral groups sihlangane zenze umsebenzi lula xa sekufikwa ku general, babe sebe nominatile like your women, like your youth, your people with disabilities. That's the process, and this process will be handled by a group of councillors overseeing the whole process, together with the administration of the Speaker's office. In the forefront will be public participation section of the Speaker's office. That's where all this lies. but they account to the speaker at the end of the day.
Okay. Kunembuzo okhoyo apha, but I think ubuphendule because kuyabuzwa uCeduma Bomoityhulu ukuba is there a stipend or any form of incentive including non-monetary rewards for being a ward committee? Ngathi buyiphendule ke.
Bendicinga uba ndizamile ukuthetha ngayo. Akho remuneration, into ekhoyo si-stipend, and i-stipend abanikwa sona is to cover transport, is to cover catering, nento ezifana nama-airtime for the phone calls. If I may,
Ubaxhobisa mhlawumbi skills, training and all that, the non-financial support.
Yes, so that they keep on, well, if I may, the stipend is public, that they get. It's 1,439 rands
per month,
so that that can keep them going for all these things. Umsebenzi Ward Committee is so exhaustive. You travel because our wards are vast, especially those in the villages. So you will need to, at the end of the month, at least there is evidence about usebenzile, and that 1,439 will assist them to go around.
Okay, so it's mainly to do the work. Stipend is okay. All right, I think sifikelele ke ngokuyiqukumbeleni inansi kowam nje omfutshane i-relationship between i-ward committee kunye ne-ward councillor injani yona?
I-ward councillor is the chairperson of that structure.
Okay.
So in other words, ward committees, ward councillor is part of the ward committee.
Okay.
And then he chairs. Those are the relations. But also the ward committees must, from all material times, ensure that we receive reports from the ward themselves. How many meetings were held by the councillor with the people? Because the councillor must take mandates from the community, so that when that councillor discusses and engages in the council, at least we are as Baban Batini, and he or she represents those people in council.
Right. Manditsho ke ndithi sibamba ngazibini kusomlomo webhunga lolawulo iBuffalo City Metropolitan Municipality utata uHumphrey Maxekwana. Sibamba ngazibini kubaphulaphuli bebesiphulaphule kwiMdantsane FM nakwiKumkani FM, nabo baphulaphuli okanye ababukeli abangenileyo apha kumakhasi ethu onxibelelwano kuFacebook nakuYouTube. Nditshilo ke into yokubana ii-concerns abazibekileyo zizawurekhodwa and kuzawuqinisekiswa into yokubana kuyabuyelwa kubo bacaciswe. Ndizawunikhumbuza ke ababhalileyo into yoba mhlawumbi umntu asele eqhubekeka echaza into yobana ukwawathi bani and imeko ilolu hlobo izokwazi ke ngoku kulandeleka ezi zinto enizibekileyo. Speaker, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks a lot.
All right, egameni lomzi ke Keith Ngesi Radio iKumkani FM kwakunye neMdantsane FM sithi zenibe nobusuku benzolo kumna kuwe kulona kulowa kamnandi.